Okay.
Oh, morning.
What are you up to?
Trying to brainstorm ideas for the Dragma intro.
The archetype's called Dragma?
Yes?
Oh. Well, I've got an idea.
I'm not making the joke.
Okay. See, Dragma ball.
God damn! Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-minute testing. Okay, fine. You all asked. You spammed my comments for months. I'll take a look at the funny haha Ligma archetype. Is that what you want? You want me to say Dragma and then you can edit it into Twitter memes? Well, here you go. Today's deck is Dragma. Before we begin, if you're on the fence about subscribing, let me sweeten the pot for you. Press that little button below the video and I'll answer the question on everybody's lips. Who's Steve Jobs? So here's the list, and yeah, this is about the maximum number of engines I feel comfortable jamming into a single deck right now. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is an online strategy site for our mutual favorite card game. It's got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. It's also where I post the deck breakdowns for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Quarantine series, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. Now let's get down to Dragma. Dragma is an archetype of Catholic dragons who, if they existed in real life, would be exceptionally annoying on Twitter. There's 11 members of the archetype so far, but only 4 of them are worth playing. Their in-archetype gimmick is that they cast Foolish Burial Goods repeatedly, consistently, and often with upside. Given that the only 2 other cards that accomplish this effect cost half your life points or FTK your opponent, respectively, it's not hard to see that these monsters are poised to be prominent figureheads in a post-Secret Slayers metagame. Their main line goes as follows. Use Nadir to bin Op Cologne, add, then discard Rook, add, then summon Ecclesia, add, then summon Dragma, send Construct and Bastard, add back Rook, set Rook, trigger Bastard for Fleur-de-Lis at end phase, and summon Winda next main. Of course, that single unrepeatable line isn't enough to win games all by itself, which is why we'll be supplementing it with the least innovative and most flexible engine of all time, Invoked. Is it powerful? Not exactly. Is it interesting? Again, no. Is it inexpensive? No, for some reason these cards cost hundreds of dollars, but what it is an easy way to get a monster from the extra deck into the graveyard for maximum summons, and a repeatable game plan in a deck that otherwise lacks it. Ideally, we'll be able to set up Makaba, Fleur-de-Lis, and Winda going first, and send several dozen Ntis to break boards going second. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, our Dragmas. Fleur-de-Lis, an infinite impermanence, maximum, 2 extra Foolishes, 3 Ecclesia, the Searcher, and 1 Nullius Filius, the Super Polymerization. I'll level with you, this one sucks. I just kinda heard searchable Super Polymerization and my brain turned off. After that, we've got 3 A-Lister, 1 Shadow Beast for corner cases, and 3 Ash Blossom. For spells, we're on 3 Disciples of the Nadir, 3 Magical Meltdown, 3 Invocation, 3 Dark Ruler, 3 Called, a Foolish, which isn't fantastic in this deck, but is probably still worth playing, and 1 Terraforming. For traps, we're on 3 Infinite Impermanence, 3 Dragma Punishment, 3 Solemn Judgment, and 1 Shadow Rook. In the extra, space is extremely tight. We're on Makaba, Purgatrio, Caliga, and Aegides, Shadows of Construct, 2 Op Cologne, which is a little sus, but I want to Rook twice, and Winda. We're on 2 Bastard of the Big Boy Swears, 2 Ntis, 1 Omega, and the A-Lister dudes of Secure Garda and Almirage. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Gladiator Beast. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Gladiator Beast? I thought not. It's not a tale Konami would tell you. Gladiator Beast was an archetype that operated on a completely different plane of existence from everything else. Unfortunately, now it's been reduced to a turn 1 combo board building deck. They'll normal summon a copy of Bestiari and special a Test Tiger before going into Test Panther. Afterwards, going to fire Comeback to bring back Bestiari, trigger Test Panther in order to get a copy of Augustus from deck, trigger Augustus, trigger a Torix, and then from there they will contact Fuse. They're going to make a couple of Gladiator Beasts, which enables a Tamer Editor, whose effect they will activate to summon a Dominatius. Well, one monster negate and Patrician of Darkness, I think we can beat. We're going to go through the motions with A-Lister not using the effect, so we don't trigger the effect of Dominatius, and then we'll activate the Maximus in hand, which triggers the Dominatius and fiends a Macabre from us. From here, it should be an easy path to victory. We'll activate Disciples of the Nadir and Antis's effect, popping the last threatening monster before going to Ecclesia. We're going to special summon a copy of Fleur-de-Lis, activate Dragma's effect, activate Opcolone and Antis to wipe the board completely, and add a copy of Rook to hand should the game last longer. We'll attack directly for 3,000, for 2,000, and for lethal. Our second match is up against Noble Knight, and GPG detected, GPG detected. Okay, if we lose this game, it's because our opponent's playing illegal cards, and for no other reason. Our opponent's starting, they're going to lead with a copy of Heritage of the Chalice, with which we will respond with an Ash Blossom. They have the cold, unfortunately, so they're going to add an Ogier from their deck to their hand. Now listen, I'm not gay, but I am bi. Ogier is hot as hell. They're going to special summon a copy of GPG and go into a Solda. We'll fire off an Infinite Impermanence. Sometimes you just open everything. They'll activate Ogier's Graveyard effect and pass it back to us. Well, we're going to lead with a copy of Terraforming. Afterwards, we're going to fire off this copy of Magical Meltdown to get a copy of A-Lister. We'll use A-Lister's effect for an Invocation. We'll go through the motions of Almirage and Secure Gardna, so we can make a Macabre. Next, we're going to activate Invocation again to get this A-Lister back in hand and fire off a Disciples of the Nadir, triggering the effect of Opcolone, and then special summoning an Ecclesia. We'll activate Ecclesia's effect for a Maximus. We'll special the Maximus and activate its effect, triggering both the effect of Construct and the effect of Bastard at end step. We'll get in for 15 and 15. Before setting this copy of Shadal Rook, I keep the Infip in hand because I figure the only way we can lose this game isn't evenly matched. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Dark Ruler No More, unfortunate, followed by a Heritage. They're going to go into another Ogier and then activate a Quick Play spell. We're going to respond with Fleur-de-Lis to negate the effect of Ogier, which does very little but get Fleur-de-Lis onto the board. Next, they're going to add a GPG to hand, and now that they've special summoned, we're free to flip up this Shadal Rook and dare them to go to battle phase in order to get over our Winda. They'll do just that and equip, unfortunately, our Macabre in the process. They'll pass back turn, but from this position, we should be able to win the game. We draw an Invocation. Wow, that's incredible. We'll normal summon a copy of A-Lister. They're going to God Phoenix Gearfried, which would be good if we hadn't ripped Invocation off the top. We'll go for Purgatrio, Invocation's effect, and proceed to battle phase. We'll discard 2 A-Listers in damage step, and of course GPG is only once per turn, so we get well over it and in for lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Adamantipator, and oh god, you could not have engineered a worse hand if you tried. Well, maybe we can beat their turn 1 board. Adamantipator doesn't set up very much, does it? They're going to lead with a copy of Automata Para, then they'll normal summon a Doki Doki. Ugh, if I had perfect information, I would have infipped here. They're going to activate Analyzer, finding off the top. Ugh, a Dodo Dwarf, go love. That triggers the Gigas in Graveyard, and from here they're off to the races. They'll go into a Raptite, they'll activate Raptite's effect. They find a Seeker, but their zones are a little screwy. They'll special summon this copy of Seeker, and then special summon this copy of Utopic Automatopoeia from hand, before link summoning a Crystron Hauka Fibrax to go into Researcher. They'll overlay for Granite, and I figure if I can cut them off of either Block Dragon or Buster Sword, we might win. They'll go into an Appaloosa, set 1, and pass. Hey, that's pretty good. Alright, well, we'll set 3, and we have no way to get this Maximus out of our hand, so it's going to have to be enough. They're going to activate Raptite's effect, finding off the top just about anything they want. They elect to go for a Researcher, whose effect they will activate next, finding off the top this time. Doki Doki, it looks like. Yikes, these are such good hits. They'll fire the Doki Doki. We will call by the grave the Doki Doki that's in the graveyard, but they already have the material for something powerful. They'll go into a Herald of the Arclight and then activate the effect of Dodo the Dwarf, go glove. The upside of drawing 2 called by the grave is you get to activate 2 called by the grave. They'll go to battle phase, but I believe it is lights out no matter what we draw. It would have to be like Dark Ruler No More plus Nadir. Albus Nilius unfortunately will not do it. We'll attack over this copy of Abyss Dweller and pass it back to our opponent, but from this position all they have to do is proceed to battle phase. They'll use Signs as effect, we'll Solemn Judgment, I don't know, for style points I suppose, and as they enter battle, we will go ahead and concede. So it's time for game 2, and god, another bad hand! Well, at the very minimum, we have access to the invoked half of the deck, and though they are extremely conditional, this does represent 4 negates. We'll just have to deploy them correctly. We'll fire a Magical Meltdown, then normal summon a copy of A-Lister, getting an Invocation to hand. We'll go through the motions, as always, before firing off the Invocation, going into a Macabre and triggering Invocation's Graveyard effect, setting 3 and passing. Okay, it's gotta be enough. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Doki Doki. We will Macabre the Doki Doki, getting the rock monster off of our opponent's side of the field. They'll fire a Signs, we'll activate Solemn Judgment, and that's the end of their turn. Oh my god, we could do this. We draw Terraforming for turn, we're going to activate it in order to get a copy of Magical Meltdown. We'll activate Magical Meltdown and normal summon a copy of A-Lister using its effect before proceeding to battle phase, doing 25 and 1,000 damage. In main phase 2, we'll fire off this Invocation to get a copy of Caliga. Unfortunately, you can only attack with 1 monster a turn while this is on the field, so we want to do it post-combat. Our opponent's going to set 1 card and pass, and we might have just walked with this. Oh, is that an Ecclesia off the top? Don't mind if I do. We'll Invocation for an Aegis. We'll activate Aegis' effect and special summon a copy of Ecclesia. We'll use Ecclesia's effect and then Maximus' effect in order to send a couple of cards to the graveyard. We'll trigger Apcolone and Beast's effect to draw a card before firing off this Invocation for an A-lister back in hand, and then we'll proceed to battle phase, attacking our opponent for lethal. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and okay, just like last game where we were missing the Dragma portion of our deck, this game we're missing the Invoked portion. This is still a very winnable match, provided we make it to main phase. Our opponent doesn't have any Adamancipators. They're going to activate the effect of Doki Doki to get a Dodo Dwarf Go 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 Glove and then fire the Gigas. They'll overlay for Granite, and I suppose I can Ash Blossom this? They already have Block Dragon access, unfortunately. They'll go from Union Carrier into Block Dragon, but that's going to end their turn. Oh my god, we could do this. We're going to fire off Disciples of the Nadir, sending a copy of Apcolone. We're going to use Apcolone's effect before activating Ecclesia. We're going to activate Ecclesia's effect for Fleur-de-Lis, who we will summon in order to negate the effect of Block Dragon, so when we go for Maximus, we can send it in Tis to destroy it. We'll destroy this copy of Block Dragon. Its effect triggers, but unfortunately for our opponent, we've got double Called by the Grave. They are able to tackle Crusader our Fleur-de-Lis down, so we can't OTK this turn, but we can get in for a fair amount of damage. Things are looking extremely good with these 3 cards in hand. We'll pass it back to our opponent, who draws another non-Adamancipator. They'll activate Dodo Dodork Go 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 Glove. We'll fire off this Called by the Grave. That effect will be negated, and they'll pass turn. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, we did it! We'll trigger it in Tits to destroy their Go 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 Gigas and then normal summon a Nihilus Filius before attacking directly for 3,000, 2,000, and lethal! So we're back with the deck, and whoa! The tingling in my fingers! The electricity between my toes! Am I having fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, the deck is extremely powerful. There's just no way around it. The varied negation, the adaptable lines, and the strong as hell first and second options make it a consistent, formidable, and malleable threat. 2, Invoked is the perfect pair for this strategy, but it's by no means the only one. These cards are super splashable, mark my words. Anything that puts an extra deck monster into the graveyard has a reasonable argument for Dragma's inclusion. And 3, Ntis adds an extremely powerful removal tool to the deck, either by activation of Punishment, Nadir, or Maximum. I pray it isn't pre-hit as a precaution, because it's basically the only way the deck breaks boards. And the cons. 1, its ceiling is much lower than its fellow meta competitors. If you fail to interrupt it and they draw well, it can produce a special summon floodgate, an infinite impermanence, and a monster negation. Adamancipator, by contrast, can solve world hunger if uninterrupted. 2, it doesn't yet have enough playables. Oftentimes you'll draw into one half of the deck, and with only 2 cards you really want to draw from both Dragma and Invoked, it's very easy to get choked under a Macabre you've only got 1 copy of. And 3, Cut Nullius. He sucks. All in all, please do not rarity bump this deck. I am begging you. Please do not rarity bump this. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons, Meatmoto27, Tamamo Bay, Alex Perea, Austin Lyles, Candyman, Crispy, Mika Reichman, Sir Tachyon, Tyler Slacks, Tyrese Biggums IV, Andrew Horseman Linderman, Austin Zell, Chad Bortz, Presley Casey IV, Moira Brown, Angry Bread, Lucky Number 5, Amit Alafandi, Nick Extreme 99, Miyuna Arashi, Jason Leonard, Andrew Boyko, Dunkoro, Nix Dolores, Marty Caldwell, Make Fetza, Blue Boy, Shane Meadow Edits Pranga, David Daniels, Red Eye, Shadow Fusion, Josh, CJ Alex, Stevie Blunder, Darcy Tevz, Mitchell Cook, Samsoon, Korakaze, Chorps Away, Haruf, Jane Linyas, Dojin is Trubbish, Lucas Hansen, Algis, Marcin Kavicius, Lavender Lemonade, Zach McKee, Gustavo Secon, Siberian Rabbit, Pro FP2, Gamer Games, Michael Oskvark, Dan the Man Hoban, Blab, Lake Root, Standards Objective, Jeff Leonard, Emperor Stove, TJ Steakhouse, Dominic Ernst, Pro Yugi Dad, Picnic Blasted, Lawrence, Chel Du Rado, Ernesto Ibarra, Fighting Fang Wong, Donnie Fillerup, Adam Sundquist, Isaac Jackson, Second Lucas Geardas, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Distrin, and others. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.